Chronicles of the Grim Reaper, A Quiet Sacrifice, by Griz Calderon. Milton's farm was a patchwork of hard work and history, nestled in the quiet rural stretch of South Dakota that had been in his family for generations. The modest farmhouse sat surrounded by golden fields of corn and wheat that stretched to the horizon. A sturdy red barn stood nearby, sheltering an array of animals: 2 horses, a few dozen hens, several goats, a small herd of cattle, and a couple of stubborn pigs that always seemed to test his patience. His loyal dog was always by his side, whether herding the cattle, fetching tools, or simply keeping him company during the long days. The air smelled of fresh hay, earth, and the faint scent of the wood-burning stove from the kitchen where Milton's wife was making dinner. Every day was a predictable rhythm. Milton rose before dawn, checked on the animals, worked the fields, and returned to his family for dinner. He loved the simplicity of his life, finding purpose in every small task. His wife often teased him about his meticulous schedules, but Milton knew that a farm thrived on routine, and he hoped one day to pass it all down to his son. Life here was simple and quiet, until it wasn't. Tornado season brought with it a tension that never fully dissipated. The family had taken every precaution. An underground bunker sat beneath the barn, reinforced to shelter them and as many animals as possible. But Milton knew all too well that preparation could only go so far against nature's fury. It was a morning like so many others on the farm. Milton was up before dawn, walking the perimeter of the farm with a mug of coffee in hand. His dog padded alongside him, his ears alert to every rustle in the fields. The air was heavy and still, a warning that only a farmer would notice. By afternoon, the sky began to shift. The soft blue gave way to ominous, churning clouds. A stark line divided the heavens, dark, brooding gray on top, and an unnatural brightness on the bottom. The air was electric, charged with anticipation. The local weather station confirmed his fears. Severe storms were on their way, with the potential for tornadoes. Milton and his wife exchanged a knowing look. She gathered their baby girl and son, setting up supplies in the bunker while Milton turned his attention to the animals. "We'll be fine," he reassured her, his voice steady. He kissed his wife and then bent down to hug his children tightly. His dog nudged Milton's hand, sensing the urgency in his tone. Milton scratched behind his ears and whispered, "Stay close, old boy. We've got work to do." Milton worked methodically, moving the smaller animals into the shelter first. The hens clucked in protest as he carried them in crates, and the goats followed reluctantly, bleating their displeasure. His dog darted back and forth, herding the more stubborn animals with precision, born of years of instinct and partnership. Together, they made quick work of rounding up the smaller creatures. Knowing the storm was closing in, Milton knelt at the door of the bunker with his dog. Hugging him tightly, Milton whispered, "Watch over them, old boy." His voice was thick with emotion. The dog licked Milton's face, his tail wagging faintly despite the fear in his eyes. Milton pushed the door closed, ensuring the safety of his family and loyal companion before heading back to secure the remaining animals. The wind began to pick up, pushing against him with every step. He secured the barn doors and turned to the larger animals. The 2 horses were spooked, their nostrils flaring as they stomped nervously. It took all of Milton's strength to lead them toward the shelter. The cattle were harder to manage. They sensed the coming storm and resisted his coaxing. He finally got them to safety, his shirt soaked with sweat despite the cooling wind. Then the sirens wailed. The tornado was near. The horizon darkened as the massive funnel cloud tore across the fields, a roaring monster that shredded everything in its path. Debris filled the air, wood splinters, shingles, and unrecognizable scraps. Milton sprinted toward the shelter, fighting against the ferocious wind. His heart pounded as he reached for the door, but it wouldn't budge. It was locked, just as he'd secured it earlier to protect his family. The wind grew stronger, lifting him off his feet. He clung to the door handle until his grip gave way. The world spun as the storm carried him, his body weightless in the chaos. For a brief moment, he saw the barn standing untouched, a miracle amidst the destruction. Then, everything went dark. When Milton opened his eyes, he was no longer in the storm. He stood in a field bathed in golden sunlight, the sky a perfect, cloudless blue. The air smelled sweet, like blooming flowers and fresh rain. Beside him stood the grim reaper, cloaked in a simple black robe, holding his scythe. His face was not menacing but kind, his eyes reflecting the depth of every soul he had guided. "I'm here for you, Milton," the reaper said, his voice calm and steady. Milton didn't flinch. He felt no fear, only sadness that he wouldn't be able to hold his family again. "Are they safe?" Milton asked. The reaper extended a hand, and the scenery shifted. They were now inside the bunker. Milton saw his wife holding their baby, his son clutching her arm tightly. At their feet sat his dog, eyes alert and body poised protectively, offering comfort and reassurance to the family. Around them, the animals were huddled together, safe and unharmed, as they waited for the storm above to pass. "They are safe because of you," the reaper said. "You gave everything for them, Milton," he added gently. "Because of your strength and sacrifice, they have a future." Milton felt a wave of peace wash over him. He looked at his family one last time, their love filling every corner of his being. "They'll rebuild," the reaper assured him. "The barn was spared, and they will carry on your legacy. Your son will grow up knowing the farm you fought to protect." As the reaper guided him away, the storm faded. The chaos gave way to a serene sky painted with soft hues of pink and orange. A rainbow arched across the horizon, a symbol of hope and renewal. Milton felt himself dissolve into the beauty of the moment. The weight of his sacrifice lifted. "You saved so much today, Milton," the reaper said as they disappeared into the light. "And that is a legacy worth more than any storm could ever take." And in the peaceful aftermath of the storm, the farm stood as a reflection of Milton's love and dedication, a lasting reminder of hope and strength for the family he cherished. The end.